welcome back to the newest episode of Journey into the Unknown. I, of course, am your host, Emerald Raven, and today we are going to be talking about the dragon. As always, we're going to jump right in. Before the dragon became symbols of fantasy, spectacle, or conquest, they were watchers, guardians, threshold creatures that existed at the boundary between the known and the unknown. The earliest dragons were not simply large reptiles with wings and fire. They were embodiments of power that demanded respect, patience, and humility from all those who encountered them. Dragons appear independently in cultures separated by oceans and millennia, and that alone should give pause. When stories echo across geography without direct contact, it suggests something fundamental is being explored. Dragons aren't accidental inventions. They are answers. Answers to questions that humans have asked for as long as we've looked at the world and wondered what might be watching back. In the oldest traditions, dragons are rarely mindless beasts. They're typically intelligent, ancient, and deliberate. They are associated with places that matter, such as mountains, caves, rivers, skies, and borders between realms. These are not random locations. They are liminal spaces, places of transition and danger, where rules feel thinner and stakes much higher. To encounter a dragon is not to stumble on an animal. It is to cross into territory where power is concentrated. Descriptions of dragons vary widely, but certain elements reoccur with remarkable consistency. Typically a long serpentine body, scales that resist all weapons, eyes that seem aware, not merely alert, claws capable of crushing stones, wings that bolt out light or stir storms. Whether they're winged, wingless, fire-breathing, or water-bound, dragons are always described as formidable. But physical strength is only part of the picture. Dragons are hoarders, not always of gold, but of something valuable. In European traditions, this often becomes treasure, wealth accumulated and defended. In Asian traditions, the hoard may be rain, wisdom, balance, or cosmic order. The hoard is always symbolic. It represents concentrated power, something worth guarding because it sustains or defends the world around it. The dragon does not steal casually, it claims. In many myths, the dragons are ancient beyond reckoning. They predate kingdoms, they outlast empires. This age grants them perspective. Dragons have seen civilizations rise and fall. They have watched humans repeat the same mistakes with different names. This longevity makes them patient, not forgiving. To a dragon, time moves differently. This difference is crucial. Humans act with urgency. Dragons act with inevitability. When a dragon responds, it is not because it was provoked in the moment, but because a balance has been disturbed. Something has been taken, trespassed, or disrespected. This framing transforms dragons from villains into forces of consequence. In Western mythology, dragons often become obstacles for heroes. Knights slay dragons to prove valor, rescue maidens, or claim land. But even in these stories, the dragon's role is rarely arbitrary. It guards something: a spring, a city, a treasure. The hero doesn't simply wander into the dragon's path. The hero seeks the dragon or stumbles into its domain. The conflict arises because something valuable is at stake. The dragon's fire is one of the most iconic traits, and it is deeply symbolic. Fire is destructive, but it's also transformative. It purifies, it reshapes, and it leaves nothing unchanged. A dragon's fire isn't just a weapon, it's judgment. When dragons burn villages or fields, the act is not always portrayed as cruelty. Sometimes it's portrayed as punishment, a response of greed, arrogance, or broken agreements. Dragons enforce boundaries in a way that humans often fail to do consistently. In Eastern traditions, dragons take on a very different tone. They are often associated with water, rain, fertility, and imperial authority. These dragons are not enemies to be slain, but beings to be honored. They bring storms that nourish crops. They control rivers that sustain civilization. Angering a dragon brings drought or flood. Appease one will restore balance. Here, the dragon's not chaos, it's order. This contrast between Western and Eastern dragons reveals more about the cultures that created them than about the creature itself. In societies where wilderness was something to be conquered, dragons became enemies. In societies where harmony with nature was emphasized, dragons became partners. But in both cases, dragons are powerful, intelligent, and deeply tied to the environment. One of the most unsettling aspects of dragon lore is how often dragons are described as speaking. They bargain, they mock, they test. They don't roar mindlessly, they communicate. This implies not only intelligence, but values. A dragon may honor agreements, it may keep promises, and it may punish betrayal harshly. To face a dragon is not just to face a physical threat, but a moral one. Dragons often challenge heroes not just in combat, but in character. Greed invites destruction. Humility invites mercy. Wisdom invites survival. These themes reoccur across cultures, suggesting that dragons function as arbiters of worth. This is why so many dragon stories end not with slaughter, but with transformation. The hero changes, the land changes, the balance shifts. There are legends where dragons withdraw rather than die. They leave an area once humans prove unworthy or overly destructive. They sink into mountains, they retreat into oceans, they vanish into myth. This withdrawal mirrors the disappearance of wilderness as human influence expands. In this scene, dragons can be read as the spirit of untamed power retreating from the world that no longer respects it. From skeptical perspective, dragons have been explained as exaggerated accounts of large animals, fossil discoveries, or natural disasters given a physical form. Ancient people finding dinosaur bones, massive skulls, or serpentine fossils may have woven stories to explain them. Volcanoes breathing fire, earthquakes shaking mountains, storms tearing landscapes apart. Dragons become the face of forces too large to understand directly. These explanations are plausible. They might even be partially true. But they don't diminish the dragon's significance. Even if dragons were born from misperceptions and misinterpretation, they endure because they answered something deeper. They gave people a way to talk about power, danger, responsibility, and respect. They made abstract forces personal and negotiable. The storm cannot be reasoned with. The dragon can. This is why dragons persist in modern storytelling. They adapt, they change form, they become creatures of fantasy, science fiction, and metaphor, but their core remains intact. They are still guardians of something valuable. They still test those who approach. They still punish arrogance and reward understanding. Modern dragons often reflect contemporary fears: nuclear fire, environmental collapses, unchecked greed. The dragon horde becomes corporate wealth. The dragon's fire becomes industrial destruction. The hero's journey becomes the struggle against system rather than beasts. And still, the dragon watches. The original meaning of the word draken connects sight, vigilance, and watchfulness. Dragons are watchers, not because they're passive, but because they're aware. They notice patterns, they observe consequences, they respond when thresholds are crossed. These make them very unsettling. A dragon isn't random chaos. Its intention made dangerous. To be seen by a dragon is to be judged. That judgment doesn't always end in death. In some stories, it ends in alliance. Dragons grant boons, wisdom, or protection to those who approach correctly. They teach rather than destroy. They award restraint rather than force. But these outcomes are never guaranteed. Dragons are benevolent by default. Dragons are not benevolent by default. They are conditional. They exist to remind humans that power is not inherently evil, but it's never neutral. Power demands responsibility, awareness, and respect. Those who forget this become the stories. Those who remember become legend. What are my final thoughts on the dragon? Well, naturally, I believe that once upon a time a true creature did exist. Do they exist in 2026? I don't think so. But anything is possible. I do know that based on the mythologies behind it, I don't want to come across one. And it's not because I don't have respect for power, because I do. As a shaman, as a witch, we have a natural respect for nature and the power that comes with it. So I think, if I were to come upon a dragon, there wouldn't be any issues. What terrifies me is the sheer size. I don't fear the dragon, but I respect that it is raw power. It is wise beyond anything that I can comprehend. Do I believe that dragons ever breathe fire? Not really. I do believe that the skeptics have a point of the misinterpretation of storms, earthquakes, and volcanoes. I don't think that any creature could actually affect what nature does. That doesn't mean that they couldn't. That just means that for me it doesn't really track that well. But I do believe that there were giant winged lizards or giant serpents that could fly the skies, who lived in these caves and rivers and everything like it said, and had infinite wisdom and could potentially punish towns. Now, maybe not by burning them down, maybe not by causing earthquakes, but when you think about it, something that big could easily destroy something. It's not going to do it by using nature, it's going to do it by using sheer strength and power from its size. Think about how big those wings are. The wings themselves could destroy buildings and tear up trees and land. The claws can rip through anything. So sheer power of destruction, I think, is what actually was used in punishment, not fire being breathed or causing floods necessarily, or causing earthquakes. I think that they, just like a human, you give us a sledgehammer, we're going to tear something up. Same thing with the dragons, except we're on a much, much higher scale. But that's my opinion only. So do dragons exist? As always, I'm going to let you guys decide. That's all I have for you guys today on that. If you enjoyed this episode, please like it and share it with your friends. Also, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell to be notified of all future content. We do have a lot coming. If you have had any run-ins with anything supernatural, whether it be ghosts or cryptid creatures, and you'd like me to read it here on my channel and give my opinion on it, send that to me at emeraldravenparanormal at gmail.com, and I will read it here. Also, if you want it to be an anonymous submission, just put that in there and I will respect your privacy and read it without your name. If you would like, you can also head on over to Facebook, follow my page, Emerald Raven Mystic, where you can be kept up to date with new products, everything I'm doing, where I'm going to be, and also get my new daily inspirational quote. While you're over there, also head over to Rhodes MarketPlace on Facebook and follow them as well to be kept up to date on the events there. At least twice a month we are going to be doing ghost hunting there. And in April, this episode is releasing in March of 2026. In April 2026, I am giving a ghost hunting class, so you're definitely not going to want to miss that. That's all I have for you guys today, so until next week, be safe, and remember, never be afraid to spread your wings and soar into the unknown.